What does it take to break the human spirit? A cold cell, a constant threat of violence, or the crushing weight of hopelessness? Around the world, some prisons push the limits of human endurance, places so harsh that simply surviving another day feels like a victory. In this video, we're counting down the 5 most brutal and unforgiving prison regimes on Earth. These are the institutions where the concept of rehabilitation is almost non-existent, and survival is the only goal. Let's dive into the depths of the world's darkest prison systems. Number 5. San Quentin State Prison, USA. In Marin County, California, stands San Quentin State Prison, an institution older than the state's own criminal justice system. Established in 1852, San Quentin is infamous for its violent history and harsh conditions. San Quentin's history is intertwined with the darker chapters of California's past. Before its construction, prisoners were held aboard the prison ship Vibon, a floating hell where inmates suffered unimaginable conditions. Those same prisoners were forced to build San Quentin's original stone cell blocks, effectively laying the foundations of their own future torment. With 275 acres of grounds and towering walls overlooking the San Francisco Bay, the prison houses the largest death row population in the United States. Over the decades, it has become synonymous with violence, overcrowding, and despair. The 1940s saw torture used during interrogations, and only after 1944 was it officially banned. Yet, amidst the darkness, faint glimmers of humanity have tried to shine through. San Quentin hosted the first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in a prison in 1941, marking a historic step toward inmate rehabilitation. The prison library, under the guidance of Herman Specter, sought to inspire prisoners through books, believing in the power of literature to spark redemption. Artist Alfredo Santos, an inmate in the 1950s, painted massive murals in the dining hall, hauntingly beautiful works that still echo the pain and desperation felt within those walls. But art and books weren't enough to erase the constant threat of violence, stabbings, and the omnipresent despair that defines daily life inside. San Quentin has also been plagued by severe overcrowding and medical neglect. Its failed boot camp experiment and the 2020 COVID-19 outbreak, which became one of the worst in the US, only further cemented its reputation as a place where human lives are routinely devalued. Number 4. Rikers Island, USA. Sitting in the East River between Queens and the Bronx, New York City's Rikers Island embodies chaos, violence, and bureaucratic failure. Originally spanning only about 100 acres, it has grown to over 400 acres through extensive landfilling. Today, it serves as New York City's primary jail complex. Rikers isn't just one prison. It's a sprawling network of 10 jails that, at its peak, housed over 20,000 inmates. Even in more recent years, it still holds an average of 10,000 detainees per day, most of them awaiting trial rather than serving sentences. What makes Rikers especially shocking is that about 85% of its inmates have not yet been convicted. Many are there simply because they couldn't afford bail. The cost to house each inmate runs about $55,000 per year, making it one of the most expensive and least humane detention centers in the world. Rikers is infamous for systemic violence and corruption. Inmates face frequent beatings, sexual assaults, and psychological abuse. Officers themselves are not immune to the violence, with frequent attacks leaving many seriously injured. In 2015, there were over 9,400 violent incidents, the highest in 5 years. The island has also been plagued by corruption scandals and horrifying stories of neglect. For example, in 2014, Khalif Browder's story shocked the nation. A young man jailed for 3 years without trial, much of it in solitary confinement, for allegedly stealing a backpack, a crime he always denied. He ultimately took his own life after his release, unable to cope with the trauma. The facility's notorious reputation led to the 2019 decision to permanently close Rikers by 2026. But until that day arrives, it remains a grim symbol of America's broken bail and prison systems. Would you spend a night alone in a Riker cell for $10,000? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe. Number 3. Lante, Prison, France. In the heart of Paris, hidden behind thick stone walls, stands Lante Prison. Opened in 1867, it quickly earned a reputation as one of France's most feared institutions. The prison was designed with 500 cells, but later expanded to hold over 1,000, and at times has housed nearly 2,000 inmates in cramped, suffocating conditions. The prison sits on Rue de la Santé, from which it gets its name, and replaced an older convent-turned-prison dating back to the French Revolution. But La Santé's legacy isn't just about overcrowding, it's about death. For decades, La Santé was the site of public executions by guillotine. On August 6, 1909, Georges Duparc was beheaded for the murder of a child, marking the first execution in Paris in 10 years. Until 1939, public executions took place at the corner of Rue de la Santé and Boulevard Arago, with horrified Parisians gathering to witness these grim spectacles. During the Nazi occupation of France, the prison's walls became even darker. Resistance fighters and political dissidents were executed here, adding another layer of terror to its history. Even after World War II, La Santé remained a place of violence and misery. Prisoners reported appalling sanitary conditions, infestations, and psychological torment. In 2000, the prison's chief medical officer, Dr. Véronique Vasseur, published a shocking exposé revealing the inhumane conditions inside, sparking national outrage and an official parliamentary investigation. The prison closed temporarily in 2014 for renovations, an attempt to shed its gruesome legacy. But no renovation can fully erase the echoes of screams and the heavy shadows of its violent past. Number 2. Carandiru Penitentiary, Brazil. If there's a single prison that symbolizes the horrors of mass incarceration, it's Carandiru in São Paulo, Brazil. Opened in 1920, Carandiru was originally built to embody the ideals of Brazil's 1890 criminal code, but by the late 20th century, it had morphed into a living nightmare. At its peak, Carandiru held over 8,000 inmates, far beyond its intended capacity. Guards were vastly outnumbered, with around 1,000 officers struggling to control the chaos. Prisoners essentially ruled the blocks, deciding who lived and who died. Medical care was virtually non-existent. Diseases like HIV and tuberculosis spread unchecked, and violence was a daily reality. Doctors were so afraid that they often refused to enter certain areas. Then came the tragedy that would forever define Carandiru, the 1992 massacre. During a riot, military police stormed the prison, killing 111 inmates in cold blood. Many were shot as they surrendered. The commander of the operation, Colonel Ubiratan Guimarães, was initially sentenced to over 600 years in prison, though he was later acquitted and subsequently murdered in 2006. Dr. Drauzio Varela's memoir, Estação Carandiru, revealed the horrifying reality from his years volunteering as a physician inside. The book became an international bestseller and was adapted into the 2003 film Carandiru, bringing global attention to Brazil's broken prison system. In 2002, Carandiru was finally demolished, but its legacy survives in the stories, the book, the movie, and the chilling museum that stands on part of its old grounds, a haunting reminder of human cruelty and institutional collapse. Number 1. La Sabaneta, Vista Hermosa, Venezuela. At the top of our list is La Sabaneta, also known as Vista Hermosa, a place where law and order have completely disintegrated. Officially under the Venezuelan National Guard's watch, the prison is actually run by inmates. Originally designed to hold 650 prisoners, today it houses more than twice that number. Violence is rampant. In 2012 alone, 591 inmates died in violent clashes. La Sabaneta is ruled by an inmate leader known as the Prawn, a kind of prison kingpin. Currently, that figure is Vilma Brito, known as Wilmo, a former boxer turned feared gangster. Under his brutal rule, the prison functions like a parallel society, a microcosm of Venezuelan life with markets, music, and hidden corners of violence. Inside, prisoners sell everything from DVDs to drugs. There are dance plazas, family visiting areas, and even a ballroom for parties. Christian preachers known as Varones live together, and LGBTQ prisoners have designated safe zones. Meanwhile, drug addicts waste away in lines along the walls, and prisoners convicted of sex crimes live in isolated quarters to avoid lynching by fellow inmates. The economic system inside relies on corruption. Officials smuggle in weapons and drugs for a cut of the profits. Inmates must pay taxes to the Prawn for protection, basic needs, and access to privileges. The Prawn openly admits to needing guns to protect themselves from the National Guard raids, further blurring the line between inmate and authority. Walking through Vista Hermosa feels more like wandering a violent, chaotic neighborhood than a prison. Despite moments of community and shared joy, La Sabaneta is ultimately a place of violence, despair, and decay, a stark mirror to Venezuela's wider societal crises. These 5 prisons represent humanity's harshest environments, places where the struggle isn't just against other inmates, but against the crushing weight of despair. From San Quentin's legacy of violence to La Sabaneta's lawless anarchy, each prison tells a story of survival against impossible odds. Which of these prisons do you think is the most terrifying? Would you survive even a single week in any of them? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video shocking and eye-opening, please hit that like button, subscribe for more chilling and thought-provoking explorations, and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.